Can you see my screen?
Yes.
What a pen. One, two, three. That's only the one I'm selecting. Okay. So just inform about this, Raghu. License is expiring in 3 days. Okay. So yesterday we discussed about the ledgers. Within the ledgers, we have leading and non-leading ledger, and we have also seen the extension ledger. So extension ledger is kind of an extension to a leading and non-leading ledger. It means we can maintain an extension ledger either to a leading ledger or to a non-leading ledger. Okay. So, and within the extension ledger, we may see multiple types, right? So we have seen that yesterday, and yeah, simulation ledger, predictive ledger, are those kind. Okay. So let me get into there. So ledger, then define settings for ledgers and currency types. Just execute. We are not discussing about the simulation ledger and all other stuff. Raghu, the same problem. System is damn slow. So when we are posting any transaction, it updates in all ledgers. Whatever the ledgers that are assigned to our company code, it updates in all ledgers. But if you want to post specific transactions to specific ledger, we have an option. We have certain transaction codes wherein we will have to go and post. But for this, we require a concept called ledger group. So you cannot post based on a ledger, but you can post based on a ledger group. So those ledger groups will be defined over here in the define ledger group. We will just check that and we will start posting the transaction. And the simulation ledger, those stuff we will discuss on this Saturday, because it is little lengthy topic. We will discuss that. So I think as non-leading ledger is what, 1A1, right? A1 or what? No, I don't think A1 is us.
I think it was AL and BL.
AL. Okay. AL and
And
BL.
BL.
Okay. Okay, fine. So this is a non-leading ledger, right? And maintained to our company code. AL AL has this thing. Okay, we have maintained all these things. And similarly, I think we have maintained the accounting ledger as accounting principle. And in the case of BL ledger, company code, and here we can see our company code. Is BL us? I don't think, because many company codes are there. Okay, that's fine. Anyways, and to this we have accounting principle. I will select something else. I'll select IFRS. Let's see. Save. So for each of these ledgers, we have maintained a separate accounting principles. Accounting principles are maintained to show certain transactions specifically, or to show differently, to show particular amounts differently. As I mentioned, probably you can see a depreciation rate difference, or probably you can see an interest rate difference. Probably you can find certain transactions that you will have to post to particular company codes. In such a cases, we will be using these accounting principles. So straight away we cannot post any transaction to an accounting principle. We can post through the ledgers. So that's the whole idea of this accounting principle concept. So let's go back to the ledger group and we'll start posting the transactions.
Nanda, I have one questions. Like, if you can go back to the ledger.
Mhm.
S-
So
s-
still it is saving. I will,
Okay.
yeah, tell me what's your question.
My question is that, like, if you can go back to the ledger where you have to just define extension ledger. I see that some of the, I think, some other people, they have defined, they have assigned D5. Actually, it has to be leading ledger, right? That's where you have to just put leading ledger. On
No, no, no.
extension
It,
ledger.
it can be extension ledger can be maintained either to a leading ledger or not, or to a non-leading ledger.
Oh, okay.
We can maintain in any ways. So are you saying the underlying ledger?
Yeah. If you can, if
Underlying ledger. Yeah, 1 second. Let me go back to that place. Raghu, I think you need to you need to check with that guy. System is damn slow. So Saturday we will be discussing on the ledgers and as well as the parallel currencies along with the posting Saturday and Sunday. So
okay.
those 2 days are very important.
George, don't miss.
I'm checking with that server guy. Nanda, do you have any other source of server in the
No,
meanwhile?
no, I don't have.
Okay.
We got it now.
It's
Okay, so
68. Let me follow up. Yeah.
okay, so these are the ledgers we have. So if you see, this is our ledger, right? And you said AL is also our ledger, right? And BL is also our ledger, correct? Now, if you see over here, I did mention here this as, here I'm just specifying an extension. It means it's part of extension, and I'm saying extension ledger, and it is underlying 0L. Underlying 0L. It means it is based on 0L. Okay. Now, if I go here, I don't know whether is
Like,
BLRs, because many company codes I can see here. I'm not sure about whether SAS is BL or what. But here I can see our company code, but other company codes are also there.
no, but
That's
if you can go back, I see D5, if you can see like D5 and D5 very last.
yeah, D5.
Yeah, so why it has to be OL, right? It shouldn't be some other thing, some other ledger, because they have assigned non-leading ledger there. It has
No,
to be always leading ledger.
no, it's not the case. Extension ledger can be on the leading ledger or non-leading ledger. It can be on anything, but D5 is not us, right?
No, I know.
Yeah, DR. No, we will discuss that part on Saturday. Just you understand now, you will we will be discussing more on the extension ledger. Within the extension ledger, we can see multiple things like simulation ledger. Of course, prediction ledger is little lengthy topic that we are not going to cover. We will cover at the end. That's altogether a new concept. Okay, so you will have more idea on Sunday, on Saturday when we discuss all this. But don't think about all the other things, just think about us. Okay, as I mentioned, in the case of simulation ledger, we can do it either on the leading ledger or on the non-leading ledger. That's it. So these are the things that we have completed as part of base configuration on the ledgers. So let's go and post the no, we will see the ledger groups, then after that we will start posting the transactions. Okay, now I'm going into ledger group, define ledger group, path is same, IMG, financial accounting, global settings, ledgers, ledger, and define ledger groups. Execute. Okay, now if you see over here, these are all called ledger groups. Now, if I just select any ledger group, and when I go here in the ledger assignment, you will see what are the ledgers assigned to this 0L. Select the same thing, go into ledger assignment, you can see the ledger. We have got only ledger 0L. But if you go to the other, if you go to the other ledgers, let's say here AF, double click on ledger assignment, you can see two ledgers. It means this ledger group has two ledgers. Now, if I go back to us, here we have AL and we have BL. We did not create these. We did not create these. Now, what happens in this case is in S4 HANA, the moment we are creating any ledger, it creates as a ledger group also. Okay, so that's how we can see AL. Now I'm just selecting AL. If I go here in the ledger assignment, you will find the same ledger. You will find the same ledger. It means if I want to post one transaction to particular this ledger, I can consider the same as a ledger group. Earlier, we used to create a separate ledger. We used to do that. But here now, we don't have to do that. We can do, the system automatically creating a ledger group when we are creating a ledger. But in addition to that, if you see BL, even here also you will find the same thing, only BL. You'll find the same BL. But you may have a situation, right? Let's say 0L is our leading ledger. AL, BL, CL. Let's say there are three non-leading ledgers, AL, BL, CL. Now, business requirement is to post a transaction in 0L and AL. Or a business requirement is to post a transaction in AL, BL, CL. How do we achieve that? We don't have an option here to consider all of them here. When you look at all these ledger group, you will not find that. I want a ledger group to cover AL, BL, CL. It means I want to post a transaction which should impact only AL, BL, CL. How can I do that? Or I want to post a transaction which should impact 0L and AL. How do I get it, which is not part of your standard SAP, which your SAP does not do that. We will have to do that. So just to do that, go to new entries. I will just say as uh, ZL. I will just say as ZL, ledger group for AL and BL. I'm just mentioning. Enter, select the ledger group. Already there it seems. I'll put Excel. Yes, Excel is there. Okay, select the ledger group, double click on ledger assignment. Here, yeah, here go into new entries and select the relevant one, Excel and AL. Okay, representative ledger is different that we will see later. The meaning of it. Excel does, sorry, I think BL, right? BL or AL. Okay, I'm just saving now. It means Excel is a ledger group and this group will have both BL and AL. What is this representative ledger that we will see later? And one more thing I just wanted to see. Yeah, if you see over here, before I come to here, I wanted to tell you one more thing. There is a term called appendix ledger. You might be knowing about it. You might be hearing about that appendix ledger. We can see the appendix ledger in early S4 HANA versions. I think we may have that until 1709 or 1609. I'm not sure about that, but we used to have appendix ledger. So we used to have leading ledger, non-leading ledger, and appendix ledger. So in the appendix ledger, of course, this appendix ledger is also there in S4, but in S4 prior versions, early versions, I think somewhere until 1610 or 1709, not sure about it, but I think it is prior to 1610, some versions. Now, the appendix ledger is removed, and SAP came with a solution called extension ledger. The purpose is the same, the activity is the same, but in the extension ledger, you have further options like predictive ledger, simulation ledger. That's only the difference. That's only the difference. Okay. But in extension, we have multiple options to show our reports. But whereas in the case of appendix, just we have only one. Okay. Now, select one representative ledger for a ledger group. Which should be the representative? What does it mean? What is a representative ledger? Now, if just I'm closing it here, I'm going back. Okay. I'm just going back. Now, if I go and select any ledger group, if I go and select any ledger group, right? If I select any ledger group here, right? Suppose if I select one ledger and double click on ledger assignment, it means ledger we are assigning, and we are mentioning one as a ledger, representative ledger. What is a representative ledger? It means which ledger data do you want to consider in this ledger group. When we are posting a transaction, as I mentioned, right, it updates in all ledgers. So as I said, in a ledger, we may have multiple options, right? Multiple. Why are we creating ledgers? In order to show certain transactions specifically, probably depreciation rate, interest rate, or whatever. So now a non-leading ledger will have one accounting principle, the other non-leading ledger may have different accounting principle, right? Now, if I want to consider, if I want to consider these two ledgers as ledger group, okay, ledger group. Now, which one you want to consider as a representative? Which one you want to consider as a base? That is what we will have to mention here. So if at all you have one, the same thing will be considered and same will be copied. But if at all you have multiple, you can select both, or you can select at least one. Suppose in this case we have two ledger. I'm just selecting the ledger assignment. Either you can select one or two, but at least one is required. What happens is whatever the properties that are specifically mentioned for 0L, the same will also get copied into AX when you are posting a transaction using ledger group AF. That is the meaning of it. That is the meaning of this. Okay. So similarly, in our case also, we can create that part. Okay. So at the moment, I am not going to create because we have simulation, those things. During that time, we'll come back here and we will post we will create it, and again we'll post the transactions. I'm just opening another screen to post a transaction, to post a transaction. Now, the transaction code to post a transaction. Let's say I'm going into an accounting. We have the master data, we have the document splitting in place, and we have ledgers in place. Except the parallel currencies, we have everything in. So let's post a transaction. Let's analyze it, and we'll proceed further. FB50 and FB02. There is some difference in these two, FB50 and FB02. So let me post a transaction in FB02, then we will see FB50. Just get into FB02. Okay, I'm taking a date, SA company code, our company code is 1248 and currency is USD. Let's say what I'm posting is I'm posting an expenses transaction. Okay, expenses transaction. I'm posting an expenses transaction, let's assume. So what I'm doing some expenses, I'm debiting the expenses and crediting some bank account. Let's say I'm posting 1000. Now, I cannot say while posting the transaction, while entering the data, I don't have an option to enter debit DR. I don't have an option to mention credit. Instead, we have one concept called posting keys. Using the posting key, system will determine whether the particular GL is being debited or being credited. Based on the posting key, it determines. Now, if I'm posting a transaction, system requires some posting keys. If you are reversing it, again system requires some posting keys. For every transaction when we are posting, the system will determine based on the posting key which account is being debited and which account is being credited. Now expenses is GL, bank is also GL. At the moment just you understand the same thing. In the case of GLs, there are two posting keys that are 40 and 50. 40 is for debit GL, 50 is for credit GL. 40 for debit GL, 50 for credit GL. So in the case of GLs, as I said, we may have transactions of GLs, vendors, okay, customers, assets, like we will have different kind of transactions. So for every type of this transaction, we will have a debit posting key and credit posting key. It does not mean that 40 is a debit posting key is applicable to vendor, customer, and even to asset. It will not apply. It applies, 40 will apply only to GLs. And for vendors, we will have one more document type, sorry, posting key. For customer, we have different posting key. Assets, we have different posting key. So that way we can differentiate here. Now, when you go back here, posting key, just click on this drop down. You will find multiple posting keys. These are all the standard. Of course, you have an option to create. If you want, you can create your own. If you see here 1Y1Z, these are all the created ones. These are all created ones. 1A, 1B, 1C, these are all. Okay, right. 0C, 0X. Again, these are all created ones. Now, the one what we are discussing is 40. If you see over here, 40, G stands for GLs. Account type, it says as account type. Account type G stands for GL. V stands for vendor. G for GLs. A for assets. And D for customers. C for customers. C for customers. Then V for vendors. G for GLs. A for assets. M for materials. So like that, we have different account types. If you see here, G for GLs, and D for debit, C for credit. D for debit, C for credit. So debit entry and credit entry. So in the case of GL, 40 will be debited, 50 will be credited. So that's how I'm I'm considering here 40. So what I'm doing on the debit side, I'm keeping some expenses. So I'm just saying expenses. I will pick up some expenses. Office stationery. Enter. I'll put some amount. I'm just saying as 1000. We have cost centers already in place. Let's take one cost center and take text. Text is nothing but narration, expenses. Okay. So why I'm considering cost center? Because it is an expenditure. All expenses require a cost center, one CO object, controlling object. So the controlling object can be anything. We have multiple controlling objects. Like if I talk about cost center, internal order, production order, process order, sales order, WBS element, networks. I mean, we have different profitability segment. These are all different types of CO objects. We will have to consider any one of these because it is an expenses GL. So this cost center will have a profit center in it, and whenever I'm posting a transaction, it not only updates in cost center, it will also updates in it will also update in the profit center. It updates even in the profit center. Though we are considering cost center, it updates even in the profit center. So why we have profit center? On what basis profit center will be triggered? Because the cost center will have a profit center and system determines based on that. And why do we require this amount to be updated in profit center? Because we will be creating our financial statements at profit center level. Okay, just select the same thing. This is called text. I'm just mentioned, some narration. I'm crediting the GL. So let me take the particular bank account, presenter 1000, and here we don't require this a balance sheet account. So in the case of balance sheet account, we don't enter any cost center. So I'm just putting the same expenses. Okay, go to document, simulate in order to see the journal entry. You can see 40 is this expenditure, 50 is this thing. So you can see the other way, as here it is a positive amount that is debited, negative amount is credited. If you're fine with it, just save it. So system will generate one document number. How do we get the document number? Let us see that. Correct the customizing ledgers. We have completed that. Universal channel entry ledgers we have already completed. Okay, let me see what exactly the issue is. We have maintained our ledgers, but still why we have this issue? Let's see. So correct the customizing settings for ledgers for universal journal entry. Check the customizing settings using the transaction. If the message was displayed, okay. Let's see what is this. There are inconsistencies in the customizing settings for ledgers for the universal to prevent database mismatch. Postings are not allowed as long as the customizing settings are consistent. Check the customizing settings using transaction. Let's see what exactly this the issue is. Oh my god, other company codes. Some issues with the other company codes. 1730 and all these there. Oh my god. It's not with our company code, it is with some other company codes. The issue with the other company codes. No details at this. Okay, so no other details at all. So this is the problem. Allocation indicator should not be empty. Allocation indicator should not be empty. Ledger 0L company code. The allocation indicator in the table is empty, although there is a controlling area assigned to this in controlling 2 for controlling 2. Okay, anyways, I will have to figure this out. We have many issues of this kind. We have 27,000. I have to figure out how to restrict all of them. Okay, fine. Anyways, so let's continue this, and in the meantime, let me close all these issues. This is not something relating to our company code. This is something relating to other company codes created in this testing system. Okay, so I will figure this out, and I let you know how what I'm going to do. So we will discuss. We will continue in the next class. Okay.
Okay.